Yeah.
If you thought college football was over, think again. The FCS season kicks off this Saturday when McNeese State travels to take on Tarleton State, meaning we have college football in spring. We have college football in spring. So today, guys, we are giving you a brief overview of this FCS season, looking at some of the favorites within each conference, how this season is going to work, some of the national title favorites up here on our big board, just a general overview of this very historic 2021 FCS spring football season, just like it would be played in the fall. But of course, many of these teams decided to postpone to the spring, of course, amid the coronavirus. So we are here to break down everything for you, and as the season progresses, we will be producing plenty of FCS content, looking at some of the top games of each week, and certainly going to be breaking down the playoffs when those roll around here in a few months. So before we take a look at some of the elite teams up here on our board, some of the guys that could challenge for an FCS national championship, let's look at a few headlines. The first thing is the playoffs. They have been reduced from 24 teams to 16 teams in 2021. The playoffs will be announced. The field of 16 will be announced on April 18th. The championship game should still be played in Frisco like it has been for many years now, and that will be played on May 15th. So think about it, guys. The season starts February 13th. It doesn't end until May 15th. We've got 3 months of college football. 3 more months of college football. And what a fantastic time it is, and what a great opportunity it is for these schools, these athletes, to get to play. The whole nation's going to be on them. The whole eyes are going to be on them. Normally, when they're playing in the middle of the fall, like a normal season, everybody's so focused on the FBS, your big dogs. Now, the only football that's going to be on is FCS football. It's a great opportunity to give these guys some national exposure and the attention that they absolutely deserve. So, championship May 15th, playoffs start April 18th. As of right now, there are still a lot of teams that have opted out. 105 of the 127 schools are expected to play. So we've got about 22, give or take, 22 schools that will not be playing football this spring. That also includes the entire Ivy League. The Ivy League choosing not to play football at all. So no Harvard, no Yale, no Princeton, nobody like that will be playing football in the spring. We have a couple of newcomers at the FCS level. Tarleton State, we just mentioned, they kick off their season on Saturday against McNeese State. They are making the move to the Division I level, so congratulations to them. And same for DIXIE State, also making their debut at the Division I level. So a couple newcomers to the FCS stage, to the Division I stage. And let's go ahead and briefly run through some of the big storylines from each conference, kind of just highlighting a few key points from a couple of the major conferences. You look at the Big Sky. Every conference right now is starting on a different date, ending on a different date, and their schedules are all going to be very different. Some are just playing a conference-only slate. Some are finding a way to play non-conference games. So you might see one conference guys only play 4 games. You might see one conference play 6 games. You might see a conference play 10 games. Who knows? Schedules are very flexible, and obviously that'll be taken into consideration when the playoffs are selected on April 18th. But the Big Sky, Weber State, the favorite in that conference. We've got them up here on a big board as a national title favorite. We'll be touching on them in a second. But teams like Montana, Montana State, Portland State, Sacramento State, all of them opting out of this season. So those are some big dogs, big competitors that we will not get to see play. Weber State, though, the favorite in the Big Sky. Kennesaw State, the favorite in the Big South. We don't have them up here on the board, but they are a dark horse candidate to challenge for a national championship. The Big South got a couple major teams out. Robert Morris has been added. Campbell, Hampton, North Alabama, guys like that, not playing this season. The Colonial Athletic Association, James Madison, the heavy favorite in that conference, but watch out for one of the divisions there. They've split that association into divisions. Albany, Villanova, Maine, all teams that could challenge for a playoff spot this year, all grouped together in one division. So James Madison certainly got a very favorable division in the Colonial Athletic. Albany, to me, be the favorite to win that division. You better watch out for their quarterback, Jeff under Kuffler. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. Albany, a dark horse to make a playoff run. Albany, Villanova, Maine, though. Very tough division. I'd say one of the tougher divisions in the FCS this year. You look at the independents. Again, Tarleton State, Dixie State making their debuts. Going to be a lot of fun there. Not part of a conference right now. North Carolina A&T, the favorites in the MEAC, M-E-A-C. But teams like Florida A&M, North Carolina Central, Bethune-Cookman, none of them are playing. So some of their top competitors aren't there. So, of course, NC A&T will be the favorite in that conference. You look at Austin Peay in the Ohio Valley. We got to see them in action back in August. They were the first college football game to be played this past year. Remember, played that thriller against Central Arkansas. They just won the Ohio Valley for the first time in 40 years and are now led by Scaldy Walden, the youngest head coach in Division I football right now, 31 years old. Now the head coach of the Governors at Austin Peay. Watch out for them. Can they repeat as Ohio Valley Conference champions? Over in the Patriot League, Holy Cross, the favorites there, the defending champions. They're going to have a lot of competition, but an even more interesting storyline is the fact that Lafayette and Lehigh will be meeting for the 156th time this year. The streak is still alive, the longest running annual rivalry game in all of college football. Any level, Lehigh, Lafayette, 156 meetings happening this year. Thank goodness for that. You hate to see streaks like that come to an end over something as horrible as COVID. Something as ridiculous as COVID. That streak is going to stay alive. Patriot League going to be a lot of fun this year. The Southern Conference, Wofford, certainly the favorite there. They've won 3 straight championships. But watch out for Furman. 2 teams that are very good in the basketball realm, but are certainly finding their way up in the football field as well. So Wofford and Furman going to be challenging for the Southern. The Southland Conference, NICHOLLS, the favorite there. Sam Houston State can challenge NICHOLLS for that title. And then, of course, the SWAC. Watch out for the SWAC. Interesting conference this year. Biggest storyline, of course, Jackson State. I'm not saying they're a favorite, but Deion Sanders is their brand new head coach. He's done a phenomenal job recruiting. You could see Jackson State win the SWAC this year, but that storyline of just Deion, primetime, being your head coach, that's going to be fun to watch in and of itself. So, kind of highlighted some of the conference favorites there. I know we didn't highlight all the conferences, but watch out for all those teams, guys. Again, the playoff field has been reduced. It's been reduced, so 16 teams are only going to get in. That means, there are 8 teams that normally would get in that aren't this year. So keep an eye on all those conference races. They're going to be a lot of fun. I really am looking forward to watching, for me, how the Colonial Athletic kind of all plays out. That's just my personal preference. Let's take a look at some national title favorites here, guys. Again, the FCS season beginning this Saturday between McNeese State and Tarleton State. Not expecting either of those teams to be national title contenders, but we can expect North Dakota State to be a national title contender. And I think that's to be expected. The Bison have won 8 of the last 9 national championships, guys. 8 of 9 national championships since 2011. Won the last national championship back in, January of 2020, the 2019 season. But the major storyline that you want to watch out for the Bison, guys, again, they're the favorite in the Missouri Valley Conference, no doubt about it. Got that up here on the board. They're dealing with life without Trey Lance, who is going to be a first-round draft pick when the NFL draft rolls around in late April. So they're dealing with life without Trey Lance. How do they adapt to that? Can North Dakota State, who I think is the favorite to win the national championship for everybody, why wouldn't they be? But how do they adapt to life without him? And we'll say this. I think they're going to be just fine because they've got a guy named Zeb Nolan waiting in the wings. And you might not know that name, and that name also might sound familiar depending on how closely you follow college football. But Zeb Nolan transferred in from Iowa State, learned behind Trey Lance, even though Nolan is older than Trey Lance, learned behind him, the best player in the FCS level just a few years ago. And he transferred in from Iowa State where he completed 60.2% of his passes, threw for over 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. And keep in mind, that was in limited time. He was never the full-time starter at Iowa State. If he was, he would have stayed, wouldn't have transferred out. But he's at North Dakota State now. Major shoes to fill. But he played very well with the Cyclones. I have no doubt he can do the same with the Bison, and I'm really, really excited about it. I'm really excited to see how he plays. A guy that deserved his shot at the FBS level, couldn't get it, took advantage of it when he did, but didn't get to have a sustained career there, had the chance to continue making history with one of the greatest dynasties in all of sports. North Dakota State is the Alabama of the FCS level. And I don't care what level you're at, winning 8 of the last 9 national championships is unreal. And they have a chance to make it 9 of the last 10 in 2021. Weber State, right below them, looking at the Big Sky Conference, we mentioned that the Wildcats are the favorites in the conference, no doubt about it. And they had a very, very solid run last year in the playoffs. And I think that surprised a lot of people. A lot of people that they made it so far last year. 11-4 in 2019, only lost to San Diego State by 6, only lost to Nevada by 6. So they hung with 2 teams within the Mountain West, hung with them, played them very, very close. So half their losses came to FBS opponents, and they were competitive in both of those games. You look at the Wildcats this year, major storyline is, can they get any generation on offense? Their defense is fantastic. It's been fantastic. Randall Johnson transfers in at quarterback from Middle Tennessee State. So just like North Dakota State, they've got an FBS quarterback transferring in to their program. Johnson's going to replace Jack Constantine, who decided to transfer out. That was a bit of a surprise for many. So Constantine out. Johnson is in. Can he give this offense a spark? Because the defense, for a while now, has been carrying this program. And they're going to carry him again, I think, in 2021. The Wildcats returned 78.4% of their tackling production from 2019, from the team that went 11-4. A 2019 team that allowed just 20.8 points per game and beat 3 top 10 teams. Beat 3 top 10 FCS teams and made the playoff semifinals. Were 1 win away from making the national championship, but they ultimately fell to James Madison, who fell in a thriller to North Dakota State in that national championship game. So this Wildcats team absolutely has the talent, has the defense to get them to the national championship. Can the offense step up? Watch out for Randall Johnson, see how he does now as a full-time starter. James Madison, Colonial Athletic Association. They're the favorite. I'm looking forward to that other division, though, who they might play in a conference championship game. Can Albany, Maine, Villanova, someone like that slip in there? Can they get into the playoffs? Can they take down James Madison? But the Dukes, naturally, should be a national title favorite, even though they lose so much from the team that made the national championship just a few years ago. They lose Ben DiNucci, who we luckily got to see earlier this year on Sunday Night Football between the Cowboys, where he started, and the Eagles. He was also the guy that unfortunately threw the game-ending interception in that national championship game against North Dakota State just a few years ago. And I say just a few years ago. Really, it was last year, last January. So they lose him. They lose their top 3 pass catchers. They lose a lot of star players on defense. They're going through a major overturn, I would say, in terms of production. But James Madison does return 84.3% of their rushing yards. 84.3% of their rushing leaders, rushing production. They return 3 offensive linemen, and they're going to be led by their running back in Juwan Hamilton. Had 919 yards, 5 touchdowns, averaged 5.5 yards per carry in 2019. They've made the championship 3 of the last 4 seasons, guys. The only win in that span came in 2016. Only win in that span came in 2016. Can they finally get over the hump and claim another title? It's devastating to get the championship so many times and never win it, or not win it consistently. Get there so many times and only come away with 1 victory. Kind of reminds me of the Buffalo Bills. Went to the Super Bowl 4 straight times, never got a win. Can James Madison, can the Dukes get back to the championship and maybe get revenge over North Dakota State, or maybe take down someone else? Remember, the Bison are going to be the king of the FCS until someone takes them down. And then finally, South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, also in the Missouri Valley Conference, so they are facing off against North Dakota State every year, naturally. And just because they fall to them or beat them in the regular season doesn't matter, because I expect both of these teams to be playoff teams. You look at the Jackrabbits, though. They are literally and figuratively below North Dakota State. They have been, and like James Madison, they've got to find a way to get over the hump. The Jackrabbits have made the playoffs 8 straight years. 8 straight playoff appearances. They've been eliminated by North Dakota State in 4 of them. They've been to the 8 straight playoff appearances. They've been eliminated in half of their playoff appearances by their rivals up north. Find a way to get over that hump. Remember, last FCS season, game day was in town. Game day came to South Dakota State for their game against North Dakota State, and the Bison escaped that game 23-16. 23-16 with a 71-yard rushing touchdown with 2 minutes and 32 seconds remaining. Gave up a long touchdown, ended up losing the game by a touchdown. Game day chose a good one to go to. It lived up to the hype. But can they contend like that again? Look at the production coming back for South Dakota State. They've got arguably the best running back in the FCS right now in PIERRE Strong Jr. He rushed for over 1,000 yards last year, 1,018 yards, 8 touchdowns. He returns 4 of his offensive line starters, and 9 of their starters are back on defense. They're going to be a run-heavy team. I expect PIERRE Strong to do very well up front, very well in the rushing game. If the defense takes a slight step forward, they weren't bad in 2019, but a slight step forward, which they can do with so much production coming back, they very well could contend for a national title. They very well could finally take down North Dakota State. These two teams will meet on April 3rd at the FARGO Dome. And I can promise you that my eyes will be on that, and your eyes need to be on it too. It's going to be another instant classic, and maybe the first of 2 meetings between these two programs out of the Missouri Valley Conference in 2021. So these guys are your top 4 title contenders in my eyes. There are plenty of others that can contend for it. We mentioned Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State can contend for a title. Maybe Jackson State. Maybe we see a Cinderella run with Deion Sanders now at Jackson State. Maybe they make a playoff run, go on a tear. Austin Peay. A lot of talent there. Remember their first conference title in 40 years. Youngest head coach now in Scotty Walden. Can he get anything going? Central Arkansas. They hung with North Dakota State in that Trey Lance showcase game back in October. Hung with them up at the FARGO Dome. Well, now Trey Lance is gone. If North Dakota State takes a step back, Central Arkansas continues to improve, there's a chance that UCA could make the playoffs, and they normally do, and potentially make a run there. So many teams, guys, in what should be a wide open FCS season. Again, the Bison are absolutely the favorites. Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be? But they lose a lot, which means to me the door is open for someone else to make the national championship. Someone else to get there and take down North Dakota State. There's a chance the Bison may not even make it this year. They're still the kings of the SCS until proven otherwise, but these 3 teams and a handful of others are tired of it. They're ready to end the reign. And let's see if they can do it in a very historic 2021 spring college football season. Guys, we do not get to see these teams in action very much. When we do, they're usually getting beat up by Power 5 schools. We're now going to see them in action against one another. All eyes can be on you. If you're a college football fan, this is heaven. This is a gift. 3 extra months of college football, real college football, legitimate college football, sometimes I think better than the FBS level at times. Certainly they have got the playoff system right, no doubt about that. So get back, guys, sit back, enjoy it. First game is February 13th. We will have a full week of FCS football the week after that, and we will run through all the way until May 15th. Football is back, and luckily we did not have to wait very long at all. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Again, covering the FCS all spring long. We will have you covered. You do not want to miss it. This was just a brief overview. There's so much more to come, but we could not be more excited. So again, thank you so much for watching. Check out everything down in that description below. Our website, thegridironexpert.com, our Patreon account, our BetNow account. You can certainly bet on these games. I know I will, just a little bit. So use that BetNow account, our promo Gridiron over there. You'll get that 100% sign-up bonus. Give that a look. And of course, guys, thank you so much for watching as always. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.